During the day, Sadie Fagan was an ordinary woman doing cleaning work in Baltimore's wealthy neighborhoods. But when midnight came, she transformed into a completely different person. When she took off her cleaning apron and put on her elegant dress, she became one of the most powerful women in Baltimore's underground world. Known in FBI files by the code name Subject S, Sadie wasn't just Billie Holiday's mother. She was also the mastermind behind the city's most profitable illegal gambling and liquor operations. This double life she maintained for 40 years was so perfect that even her own daughter Billie didn't fully know her mother's real business. But when the FBI discovered this secret, Sadie's hidden empire would become the most powerful weapon to control Lady Day. Before you continue listening to this shocking mother's secret, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications, because the truths in Billie Holiday's family are much darker than the pain in her music. When Sadie Fagan became pregnant in Baltimore at just 19 years old, she felt forced to create two different identities to survive. The money she earned during the day cleaning houses for white families wasn't enough for herself and baby Eleonora. Raising a child alone in Baltimore's black neighborhoods was nearly impossible, especially combined with the economic hardships of the early 1920s. Sadie's solution was unexpected and bold. She began taking roles in completely different worlds at night, in illegal activities. Her first job was mediating illegal liquor sales in neighborhood bars, but this was just the first step of a much larger empire. Baltimore's East Side in the 1920s was one of the places where prohibition laws were most violated. Sadie Fagan saw this as an opportunity and quickly found herself at the center of illegal liquor trade. However, her approach was different from other small-time criminals because Sadie cleverly used her experiences from her day job, the information she learned while cleaning houses for wealthy families, who wasn't home when, which houses threw parties, whose financial situation was like what, she turned into strategic advantages in her night work. This dual information system quickly made her one of the most valuable players in Baltimore's underground world. Sadie's greatest talent was her ability to keep her two lives completely separate from each other. When she went to her clients' homes in the mornings, she assumed the personality of Aunt Sadie, a warm and reliable cleaning woman, and sometimes even played with children. In the evenings, she transformed into the underground figure known as Madame Cess, known for her sharp intelligence and composure. This transformation wasn't just physical. Her way of speaking, body language, and even walking style changed. When daughter Eleonora was small, she noticed her mother's strange hours, but Sadie explained this as night cleaning work. Within 5 years, Sadie Fagan's small illegal liquor operation had transformed into one of Baltimore's most organized crime networks. She was no longer just selling liquor, but also managing underground gambling houses. Sadie's casino operations were particularly clever because she usually hid them behind legitimate businesses. The back of a barber shop became a poker table, a cobbler's basement became a dice game center. According to FBI files, the places Sadie controlled were the city's safest gambling spots because she had a network that could get advance information about police raids. Sadie's biggest advantage during this period was that through her day job, she had gained the trust of Baltimore's most influential families. These families saw Sadie as one of the household members, told her family secrets, and even introduced her to important guests. Sadie never abused this trust. She never stole from hardworking families or put them in danger. However, she knew very well how to use this information strategically in the underground world. She learned which businessman had gambling debts, which politician held secret meetings, which police officer took bribes, and used this information to protect her own operations. Another leg of Sadie's empire was social services. She helped women working in the underground world, families of those with gambling debts, and those having problems in illegal businesses. These helps weren't just financial, but also included legal and practical support. Sadie knew Baltimore's best lawyers, knew which judge was more understanding, and shared this information with people around her. This approach not only earned her money, but also allowed her to build a deep network of loyalty in the underground world. People were loyal to Sadie because she really helped them. The 1929 Great Depression had deeply affected Baltimore as well, but for Sadie Fagan, this crisis meant a great opportunity. People experiencing economic hardships were turning more to gambling and alcohol, while the number of people entering illegal work due to legal unemployment was increasing. Sadie had foreseen this situation and prepared in advance. With the money she had saved before the economic crisis, she established larger operations and became almost a monopoly in the underground world. During this period, she had connections not only in Baltimore, but also in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. During this expansion, Sadie's most important move was discovering her daughter Eleonora's musical talent. When she heard 15-year-old Eleonora's voice, she realized this wasn't just a musical talent, but could also be a valuable asset for her future operations. The music world was a perfect environment for making both legal and illegal connections. While Sadie encouraged her daughter toward a music career, she was also calculating how this career could be a shield for her own business. Eleonora's success could make the Sadie Fagan family untouchable because the identity of Lady Day's mother could protect her. Sadie's biggest innovation in the 1930s was adding a cultural dimension to her operations. She began organizing not just gambling and liquor, but also underground music events. These events appeared legal, but were actually places where illegal gambling and liquor sales took place. Jazz music was very popular in Baltimore at that time, and Sadie cleverly used this trend. Through her daughter's music connections, she brought famous musicians, earned big money at these events, and made connections with influential people. In FBI files, this period is called the cultural infiltration period because Sadie was now using not only criminal identity, but also cultural event organizer identity. Billie Holiday's start of her music career in New York was an important turning point in Sadie Fagan's life. When the FBI began following Lady Day, they naturally began investigating her family as well. Initial investigations showed that Sadie only did cleaning work, but deeper examinations revealed her real activities. FBI agent Harold Morrison, while preparing Sadie's file, discovered that she was one of Baltimore's most organized crime figures, and this information created great interest in Washington. The FBI's discovery of Sadie wasn't coincidental. In 1935, the federal government had increased its fight against organized crime and was particularly interested in crime organizations operating interstate. Sadie's Washington and Philadelphia connections had brought her within the scope of federal surveillance. However, what really interested the FBI was her daughter's rising music career. Agent Morrison wrote in his report, "Subject S's daughter is gaining national prominence. This situation could create leverage opportunity." This report was the FBI's first strategic thinking about how they could use Sadie. During this period, Sadie was aware that the FBI was watching her, but she didn't see this as a major threat. She had been living with police surveillance in the underground world for years and had learned to handle it. However, she didn't yet understand that federal-level surveillance was different. The FBI had much more sophisticated methods than local police and were documenting Sadie's operations more systematically. Also, she didn't know that the FBI was interested not only in illegal activities but also in political connections. Agent Morrison's reports evaluated Sadie as a potential political asset or liability. The FBI's first direct contact with Sadie Fagan occurred in 1940. Agent Morrison visited Sadie at her home address in Baltimore and introduced himself as a federal investigator. Sadie was expecting this visit because she had learned from her sources in the underground world that the FBI was investigating her. Morrison's proposal was simple but effective. In exchange for cooperating with the FBI, her operations wouldn't be touched, and even protection would be provided in some matters. In return, what was asked of Sadie was to give information about her daughter Billie Holiday and guide her when necessary. This bargain was a difficult decision for Sadie because it meant betraying her daughter. However, the FBI's alternative was much worse, shutting down all her operations, being arrested, and perhaps her daughter's career being damaged as well. Sadie knew that the FBI could control Billie through other means as well, and thought that at least her mother's protective presence would be better for Lady Day. Her first response to Agent Morrison was, "I'll do anything to protect my daughter." This answer was sufficient for the FBI because they understood that Sadie would control Billie under the pretext of protecting her. After this agreement, Sadie's life changed again. She now had 3 different identities: day cleaning woman, night underground queen, and FBI informant. This third identity was more complex than the other 2 because she had to try to protect both her daughter and her own operations while also fulfilling the FBI's requests. She had regular meetings with Agent Morrison, giving information about Billie's friends, romantic relationships, and political views. However, Sadie was very careful when giving this information, trying to hide things that could really harm her daughter. During World War II, major changes occurred in Baltimore, and Sadie Fagan turned these into great opportunities. The war economy had brought many workers to the city, and this new population created a large market for Sadie's services. Additionally, wartime restrictions and the rationing system had created new opportunities for illegal goods trade. During this period, Sadie expanded her operations and was now dealing not only in gambling and liquor, but also in the illegal trade of rationed goods. According to FBI files, this period was Sadie's most profitable years. During this expansion, Sadie's relationship with the FBI also deepened. Agent Morrison was now asking her not only for information about Billie Holiday, but also for reports about other underground activities in Baltimore. Sadie managed to turn this situation to her advantage because through the information she gave to the FBI, she was eliminating her rivals and strengthening her own operations. Being under FBI protection gave Sadie almost absolute power in Baltimore's underground world. She no longer worried about any police raids and could even conduct some of her operations openly. Sadie's biggest success during this period was legitimizing her underground network as a social aid system. During the war, many families were experiencing economic difficulties, and women whose husbands were at the front were having trouble feeding their children. Sadie began helping these families, but these helps were also a way to expand her own illegal network. The women she helped began working in Sadie's operations, and when their children grew up, they took roles in illegal businesses. The FBI described this system as community infiltration and emphasized how intelligent an organizer Sadie was. When Billie Holiday's career reached its peak, although unaware of her mother's FBI connection, she began to notice the oddities in Sadie's life. Lady Day saw that her mother had luxury items that couldn't be explained by cleaning work, made mysterious phone calls, and left home late at night. When Billie directly questioned her mother in 1947, Sadie faced a real lie for the first time. She told her daughter, "I do special cleaning work for some wealthy families." But Billie didn't find this explanation satisfactory. During this period, the pressure of Billie Holiday being followed by the FBI had increased, and Lady Day couldn't understand where this pressure was coming from, especially after the song Strange Fruit. She realized that the problems she experienced weren't just political, but that her personal information was also being leaked. FBI agents knew her most private details and asked detailed questions about her friends and romantic relationships. While Billie was looking for the source of this information leak, she also began noting her mother's strange behaviors. However, she never thought of suspecting her mother because Sadie always behaved protectively and supportively. Sadie was in a very difficult position in this situation. The pressure she received from the FBI was increasing. Agent Morrison was asking her for more detailed and harmful information about Billie. They were especially asking questions about Lady Day's drug use, political views, and sexual life. Sadie had to answer these questions, but was also trying to protect her daughter. She was manipulating the information she gave to the FBI, distorting the facts, and trying to make Billie appear less harmful. However, this balance was becoming increasingly difficult, and Sadie's conscience was beginning to ache. In the early 1950s, the FBI's Billie Holiday operation intensified, and the information requested from Sadie Fagan became more critical. Agent Morrison was now asking Sadie not just for observation, but also for active intervention. She needed to prevent Billie from meeting certain people, make her give up certain projects, and even convince her to stay away from political activities. These demands were very heavy for Sadie because she was no longer just giving information, but was also trying to directly control her daughter's life. Sadie's biggest dilemma during this period was having to share information about Billie's drug use. The FBI wanted to use Lady Day's addiction against her and was demanding detailed information from Sadie on this matter. Questions about what drugs she used, where she obtained them, who she used them with, made Sadie very uncomfortable because this information could be used to arrest Billie, and as a mother, it was very hard to tolerate this. However, the FBI's threat was clear. Either she would cooperate, or both she and her daughter would experience big troubles. Sadie's most difficult decision during this period was giving information about Billie's romantic relationships. The FBI was especially targeting Lady Day's relationships with white men and trying to turn these relationships into scandals. Agent Morrison was asking Sadie for the most intimate details of her daughter's private life, and Sadie wanted to refuse these demands. However, She knew that the FBI could obtain this information through alternative means, and hoped that at least the information she would give would cause less harm to Billie. This thought process severely damaged Sadie's psychology, and she began to constantly feel guilty. In 1953, Sadie Fagan began keeping a secret diary because she couldn't bear the guilt. In this diary, she wrote about her meetings with the FBI, the information she gave, and the regrets she experienced. On the first page of her diary, she had written, "I'm betraying her while trying to protect Billie," and this sentence perfectly summarized her state of mind at that time. Sadie kept this diary in a secret place and didn't share it with anyone. However, writing provided her with some relief and lightened the burden on her conscience. The records in the diary revealed what the FBI was asking from Sadie. Agent Morrison's advice, threats, and sometimes treats were written in detail. Notes like "Agent pressured me today to end Billie's relationship with John Levy, said they wouldn't touch my Baltimore operations for 6 months in return," showed how the FBI was bargaining. Sadie also noted how she approached her daughter after each meeting, what topics she discussed, and Billie's reactions. The most painful records were about the methods Sadie used to manipulate Billie. Following the FBI's suggestions, she was exploiting her daughter's trust and using her fears and weaknesses. Notes like, "Today I told Billie that her white lovers were putting her in danger, as the FBI suggested. My daughter cried and promised to listen to me," were painful documents of how a mother deceived her daughter. Sadie also noted that she hated herself while writing these notes and hoped to correct this situation in the future. When Sadie Fagan died in 1955 at the age of 59, it was understood that she had kept her secret diary in a special safe in her house's basement. Before her death, she had also left a letter with the diary, and in this letter she wrote, "If the truth ever comes out, let everyone know that I loved my daughter but I couldn't protect her." Very few people attended Sadie's funeral because she had kept her underground identity hidden, and normal people only knew her as a cleaning woman. Billie Holiday was very sad at her mother's funeral, but she still knew nothing about her mother's real life. Sadie's death also created a problem for the FBI because they had lost their most important control tool over Billie Holiday. Agent Morrison reported that after Sadie's death, Lady Day had become more resistant and refused to cooperate. The FBI would now have to target Billie directly, and this meant using riskier methods. Thanks to the information Sadie provided, the FBI knew Billie's weak points very well and continued to pressure Lady Day using this information. The secret diary in the safe wasn't noticed when Sadie's belongings were collected because the safe was very well hidden. Sadie's neighbor and distant relative Martha Williams was taking care of the house but wasn't examining the basement in detail. The secret diary would stay there and wouldn't be discovered until the 1970s. During this time, Billie Holiday also died and never had the chance to learn her mother's real story. This situation was perhaps what Sadie wanted because she didn't want her daughter to learn this painful truth. In 1975, during the renovation of Sadie Fagan's old house, a secret safe was discovered in the basement. The new owners who bought the house found this safe during renovations and were shocked when they examined the documents inside. The red leather-bound diary containing FBI cooperation, illegal operations, and confessions about Billie Holiday was revealing one of music history's biggest secrets. The new homeowners immediately delivered the documents to music historians when they understood the seriousness of the situation. When the documents were examined, the full scope of Sadie Fagan's 40-year double life was understood. It emerged that she was not only Billie Holiday's mother, but also one of Baltimore's most powerful underground figures. Even more shocking was the cooperation with the FBI, because this explained why Billie Holiday experienced such systematic pressure. The fact that the closest person to Lady Day was selling her to the FBI was recorded as one of music history's greatest betrayals. Among the documents found with the diary were instruction letters written by FBI agents to Sadie, income records from illegal operations, and even a map of Baltimore's crime world. These documents showed that Sadie wasn't just a small-scale criminal, but also a professional organizer. According to the records in the diary, Sadie had earned a total of $2.3 million from 1920 to 1955, which was an astronomical figure at that time. The money came not from day work but entirely from illegal activities. The most shocking section in Sadie's diary was the detailed list of information she gave to the FBI about her daughter, Billie Holiday. This list included Lady Day's drug suppliers, romantic relationships, political views, fears, and even her most intimate secrets. Sadie was even suggesting which psychological tactics would work for the FBI to control Billie. Notes like "Billie has abandonment fears from childhood. This can be used" were the most naked examples of how a mother sold her daughter. Even more disturbing were claims that Sadie fueled Billie's drug addiction. According to some records in the diary, the FBI wasn't asking Sadie to control her daughter's addiction. On the contrary, they wanted this addiction to continue because addicted Billie could be more easily manipulated. Sadie's note agent told me today to not prevent Billie from staying clean. Noted that addiction keeps her weak, revealed that the FBI was deliberately trying to keep Billie Holiday sick. Another truth learned from the diary was that Sadie's illegal operations in Baltimore were protected by the FBI. Agent Morrison was giving instructions to prevent police raids on Sadie's gambling houses and illegal liquor operations. In return, Sadie was giving information not only about her daughter, but also about other musicians and artists in Baltimore. The FBI's goal wasn't just Billie Holiday, but to control the entire black art community, and Sadie was the central figure of this operation. In 1976, as a result of applications made under the Freedom of Information Act, FBI files about Sadie Fagan were also partially disclosed. In these files, Sadie's activities, which appeared under the code name Subject S, were documented in detail. According to FBI reports, Sadie was seen not just as an informant, but also as a community asset. Through her, detailed information was obtained about the dynamics of the black community in Baltimore, illegal activities, and political tendencies. The most interesting assessment about Sadie in FBI files was Agent Morrison's comment, "Subject S has ideal profile for target control, maternal protection instinct combined with criminal pragmatism." This assessment explained how the FBI saw Sadie, a perfect manipulation tool with both maternal instincts and criminal pragmatism. The FBI had managed to control her by using Sadie's protective instinct toward Billie. The files also revealed that Sadie was performing other tasks for the FBI. She was monitoring other musicians in Baltimore, reporting their political activities, and creating conflicts among them when necessary. She was also giving information about Cab Calloway, Eubie Blake, and other Baltimore-origin musicians. The FBI's goal was to fragment the black music community and prevent political activism, and Sadie was the secret agent of this operation. Another truth understood from Sadie's diary was her real position in Baltimore's crime world. She wasn't just conducting small-scale gambling and liquor operations, but was also coordinating the city's biggest crime organizations. From the 1930s onward, she played a role in organizing drug shipments coming to Baltimore and even had meetings with mafia members coming from Chicago and New York in some cases. The note Subject S has interstate crime connections in FBI files confirmed this situation. Sadie's greatest talent was her ability to mediate between different crime groups. She was ensuring stability in the city's crime world by resolving disputes between Italian, Irish, and black gangs operating in Baltimore. This skill made her indispensable and earned her respect from all groups. The FBI was using this situation to their advantage, obtaining information about all crime activities in Baltimore through Sadie. According to records in her diary, Sadie's illegal operations weren't limited to Baltimore. She also had connections in Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and even New York. She was having regular meetings with her partners in these cities, conducting joint projects, and exchanging information. Through this wide network, the FBI was obtaining very valuable intelligence about interstate crime activities. Sadie had unknowingly become the FBI's most valuable information source. The most personal sections in Sadie's diary were what she wrote about her own psychological state and motivations. When she began cooperating with the FBI, she only wanted to protect her daughter, but over time she realized that this situation was also advantageous for her own illegal operations. Thanks to FBI protection, she was eliminating her rivals, becoming stronger, and earning more money. This situation created conflict in Sadie's conscience, and she saw herself as both victim and perpetrator. The lines where she wrote, "I know what I'm doing but I can't stop" in her diary explained the dilemma Sadie was in. On one hand, she was trying to protect her daughter. On the other hand, she was betraying her. She felt powerless against FBI threats, but also admitted that she was benefiting materially from this situation. This psychological conflict was driving Sadie into depression and making her constantly feel guilty. Her most painful confessions were about how she exploited Billie's trust. Notes like, "My daughter tells me everything because she has no one else but me, and I give this information to her enemies," were the most naked examples of how a mother betrayed her daughter. Sadie hoped this situation was temporary and that everything would be fine when she made a deal with the FBI. However, over time she realized that the FBI would never let her go, and this reality drove her into much greater despair. The last pages of Sadie's diary cover the 1954 to 1955 period, and this section contains expressions of deep regret. Seeing Billie Holiday's heroin addiction deepen under FBI pressure, she realized how destructive her own role was. Writing, "The FBI's plan was to destroy my daughter from the beginning, and I became a tool in this plan." She confessed her own naivety and her late understanding of the FBI's real intentions. During this period, Sadie was trying to get out of her agreement with the FBI, but she was powerless against Agent Morrison's threats. The agent's words saying, "It's too late now. You've been working with us for 15 years, and we have enough documents against you," showed that Sadie had fallen into a trap. The FBI could now threaten her not only for Billie Holiday, but also because of her own illegal activities. Sadie found herself in a dead end. Her last diary entry was written just 2 weeks before her death. "I can't ask Billie to forgive me, because what I did is unforgivable. But let her at least know that I loved her. I'm leaving this diary so that someday everyone will know the truth. I tried to be a good mother, but I became a bad person." These lines showed the guilt Sadie experienced and her love for her daughter. Before her death, she had tried to cut her relationship with the FBI, but hadn't been successful in this matter. When Sadie Fagan's story emerged in the 1970s, it started important discussions about the FBI's pressure on citizens. This story of a mother selling her daughter while trying to protect her showed how manipulative federal powers could be. Civil rights advocates cited this case as an example of the FBI's efforts to systematically divide the Black community. Music historians had finally understood the source of the pressure Billie Holiday experienced, why Lady Day always behaved paranoid, why she couldn't even trust her closest people, had now become clear. Her mother's betrayal had deeply affected Billie's psychology and had been the source of that deep loneliness and mistrust in her music. The political courage in songs like Strange Fruit was actually a cry of rebellion combined with personal pain. Sadie's story also revealed the difficulties that Black women faced during that period. A woman trying to raise a child alone, resorting to illegal means to survive, and then this situation being used as a weapon by federal powers was a reflection of the social injustice of the era. Sadie was a figure who was both victimized by the system and forced to serve the system. After Sadie's real story emerged, music critics re-examined Billie Holiday's songs and thought there might be clues about her mother's betrayal. The lyrics "Hush Now, Don't Explain" in the song "Don't Explain" might have come from not wanting to hear her mother's explanations. The lyrics "Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own" in the song "God Bless the Child" might have expressed the desire to be independent from family. The most striking similarity was between the politics of betrayal theme in the song "Strange Fruit" and Sadie's story. While the song told about racist murders, it might also have been reflecting the betrayals in Billie's own life. The lyrics "The bulging eyes and the twisted mouth" seemed to describe not only lynching victims but also the pain of people who had been betrayed. From this perspective, Strange Fruit was not only a social but also a very personal protest. The theme of mistrust in Lady Day's music also gained different meanings in light of her mother's betrayal. The emotional vulnerability in songs like "I'm a Fool to Want You" and "All of Me" might have come from subconsciously feeling that the person she trusted most had sold her. The characteristic mixture of fragility and strength in Billie's music might have been a reflection of her mother's dual identity. Sadie Fagan's 40-year double life was a perfect example of the complex social dynamics of 20th century America. On one hand, a woman forced to resort to illegal means due to economic difficulties; on the other hand, a mother subjected to federal manipulation, and at the same time, a powerful figure in Baltimore's underground world. This multiple identity clearly revealed the contradictions and dilemmas faced by Black women of that era. How the FBI manipulated Sadie showed how deep the control the state could establish over citizens could be. Using a mother's instinct to protect her child as a weapon to control her was one of the most naked examples of propaganda and manipulation techniques. This situation wasn't limited to the 1950s, but contained important lessons about how state powers could manipulate citizens today. Sadie's story also revealed the social roots of the illegal economy. People who couldn't make a living through legal means turning to illegal activities, and then this situation being used as a control tool by the state, showed the contradictions of the capitalist system. Sadie was both a victim of the system and responsible for it. This dual situation was a complex reflection of the social injustice of that era. Most importantly, Sadie Fagan's story had brought a new perspective to Billie Holiday's music. The pain in Lady Day's songs came not only from personal experiences, but also from the betrayal of the closest person to her. This truth made Billie Holiday's music even more powerful and showed how her artistic genius was fed by deep personal pain. Sadie's 40-year double life had ended, but the impact of this story on Billie Holiday's music would continue forever.